You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, bar, arcade, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play WWE Aftershock for the Nokia N-GAGE, courtesy of Mega Mark Jamie Patterson. What's up, Soups? Will this unique handheld game hold up today? Will we play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
All this plus gaming news, GMP64, Royal Rumble, and Clash at the Feast. Plug in, put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks. Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I'm George Feis, and today we are playing WWE Aftershock.
Oh boy, and as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, make sure to subscribe, and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and join the conversation on social media at GameMarksPod and on Patreon. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Listen, those reviews are so important. Go hit that little 5-star. Tell everybody how you feel about the Game Marks podcast. But Georgie, what is up? How are you doing this week?
I am doing all right. Little bummed out from not being able to get the drum stream quite where I wanted it to be on Wednesday, but hopefully, as we're recording this, it is Friday, so hopefully later tonight I'm able to stream drums, and by Monday you're listening to this going, oh man, that was so great. George was able to stream drums on Friday. That was so cool. Yeah, how about you, John? How are you?
Well, I hope you figure that out because that sounds pretty cool, but I'm doing well also. But let's talk about last week. I'm going to say it for maybe the final time ever.
Good Lord.
We played Wrestling Universe, Fire Pro Joshi, Dome Choju, TZ, WWW versus JWP. Now,
you threw in a couple extra W's.
Yeah, whatever. I think I skipped the O's too. But the thing is, when looking up this game, I said last week there was just such little out there on the game. But I did notice that there were a couple of different ways to say the title. This is just the one we went with. I think one of our posts last week had a different title. Either way, it's Fire Pro Joshi in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where there's always going to be those multiples of the game where it's like, you know, the region that it was released in, the version, because there's like updated versions of the game that were re-released. Some of these Japanese wrestling games, there's a little bit of gray area.
It's also the translation, I think, could mean multiple things. So this is just the translation
that's also
we have.
Very, very true.
But I played it forever. You featured Endeavored. I think All-Star Dream Slam was my turning point in the Fire Pro series. And this one I just related to because it reminded me so much of that with the simple gameplay, but the familiar Fire Pro gameplay that you know. And on top of that, like you're in SNES era where that's what it looks like. Like you're getting a modern game per se because not that much has changed gameplay-wise. On an older console, I think that's pretty damn cool. That was my turning point, which is why I played this one forever, and I would, if possible, go back and play it again.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my thing from last week, just mainly because knowing what else is out there, this game didn't really bring a whole lot to the table, even for like the other Fire Pro games that were out around this time. It just, I mean, yes, the roster itself was unique, but there just wasn't enough meat on the bone, if you will, for me to kind of give this the old stamp of approval.
Yeah, I get it. But let's talk about what's new on Patreon this week because today is Monday, and if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can get this show ad-free. Tomorrow, Tuesday, you will get these show notes that we are looking at to drive the show with GMP Game Over on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. That is a sister show to GMP64. We change up the storylines, change up the rosters a little bit. It's a good, fun, snackable show. Wednesday, Future Endeavored last week. You played Nacho Libre. I'm so glad I just screenshotted your face. And I will be playing Power Move Pro Wrestling coming up this week. Thursday, you dropped a Q&A, and on Friday, a unique Clash and Burn went out, where me and friend of the pod, TK Wild, went golfing. Now, this isn't regular golf. We went indoor simulator golfing. We went out to dinner. I threw together a little video package. Came a little later Friday night because I had to put a bunch of it together, but it was fun. That was Patreon and what's coming up this week. But George, take us through the streamer spotlight.
The streamer spotlight for the last week. This is the last week of July. We are saying goodbye, but you should be saying hello to twitch.tv/livin La Vida Yoko. Yoko is a fantastic streamer, covers a lot of different topics. She is just an all-around cool person to hang out with and provides some really interesting content. She just did a giveaway, which actually our very own Soups, the person who picked today's game, won a bejeweled, bedazzled, gemmed up Batman. Oh my God, what's it called? Oh, yeah. He won a souped up, bedazzled, gemmed, whatever you want to call it, Batmobile. So, double congratulations to Soups for being this week's episode and for winning that Batmobile.
All right, but let's head on over to the YouTube side of the Game Marks podcast, because last week we dropped in both audio podcast format and in video format an interview with Shannon Williams of Markout Digital Wrestling card game. I can't put this over enough. It was so good, so insightful. He's so smart. He has got a bright future as a game developer. He's trained at Full Sail University, so he's got the knowledge. He knows what he's doing. I highly suggest going to the video format of this so you can see the cards he's holding up and whatnot rather than the podcast version. But hey, whatever you want to listen to, that's your preference. We got both there for you. But George, GMP64 episode 25 dropped on Thursday, and yesterday was the Royal Rumble. We are on the road to WrestleMania. We have Backlash, and then in September, Mania hits the streets.
Quite a little bit of a swerve in that world title match, eh, John?
Quite a little bit of a swerve.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming.
Listen, there's only one way to know what we're talking about, and that is to go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Game Marks Podcast. We've got every episode of GMP64 right on there, and if you can't get enough and you want to get the extra little bonus sister show, GMP Game Over, and access to every pay-per-view that we've done so far, that is available through our Patreon, patreon.com/Game Marks Pod. GMP64, man, wrapping up. We only got like 2 months left. It's been a wild ride.
It's bittersweet. It's a lot of work for us, but we'll be sad when it goes. But speaking of YouTube, when we hit 400 subscribers, we are on our way there. We will drop the video game history of the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors. We cannot wait to put this out in video and audio form. So guys, head on over to YouTube. If you don't already, press that subscribe button and let's get this episode going.
All right, John. Well, listen, there's a lot going on in the world of gaming. So why don't we talk about some gaming news?
All right, up next, the gaming news.
Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at VGFgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
Rockstar Games recently released GTA Online's Big Summer Update with the Los Santos Tuners content now available for everyone to try out. That update had been regarded as a key release for players who were looking for GTA Online to be reinvigorated with new things to do, and according to Rockstar, the update apparently did its job by attracting more players than any other GTA Online update before it. As a gift for players who helped set that new record, Rockstar said it's giving everyone a bonus GTA 250K. The team at 2K is hard at work on the next entry in the WWE 2K series, which will be WWE 2K22. They've started doing face scans and working on incorporating the large roster of superstars into the game, but according to a new report from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it appears one star is being removed from the game. Dave Meltzer said that Daniel Bryan has been in talks with All Elite Wrestling, spoiler alert, for a few months now, and WWE recently sent out a memo to let 2K know that Bryan should not be included in the next game. The second Assassin's Creed Valhalla DLC called The Siege of Paris currently only has a summer 2021 release window attached to it, but that might change soon if a recent leak is to be believed. A listing for the next DLC apparently went up early and included the release date of August 5th for the game's next expansion. There's always the chance that that date could be inaccurate or simply a placeholder, but the best indication we've had so far of a specific day when the DLC might release. And that's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back next week. Alright, so on top of all this gaming news, well, I sent you a video earlier where someone opens up the bottom of a GameCube and one of the ports on the bottom, it's actually for an Ethernet cable connection. Now, as far as I know, GameCube never had online play, right? At all.
So here's the thing. It was available and like you could do it, but the amount of games that were supported was very, very small, and you needed like a special little thing like to plug into the back. Like, you remember when you were going to play the PlayStation 2 online? Okay. You had to like buy that special port before they redid it. You had to get that little adapter that went into the back to let you plug the Ethernet in.
Yes, I had the Slim, so I had it built in, but I do remember that.
Yeah, so they had a part that was like that, but it almost looked like a USB, like a flash drive that you plugged into the back of the console, and then you could plug the Ethernet port in there. But there was only like 7 games, I think, that were supported.
Yes, I'm looking at it now, and with this Ethernet cable, there's American titles. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But like Mario Kart Double Dash, it has the port. Its capability is only LAN. It's not internet.
Yeah, I remember being really excited to play 1080 online, but then I found out that it's only on LAN, and I was like, because 1080 Avalanche was a great game.
Yeah, I think I didn't have that. I do remember like commercials and stuff. All right, but that's the GameCube. I missed the GameCube so much. Andrew WK, She's Beautiful came on the other day, and I just saw that commercial where like the GameCube is rotating with like WrestleMania X8 and like all those games in it, like Tony Hawk. Yeah. So good.
Oh, man, I gotta say, I think, and we've mentioned it like a billion times on this podcast, GameCube is one of the most underrated consoles that was ever made.
I think that's in my top 3 consoles.
Oh, yeah.
If not top 1 or 2.
I could sign on for that.
But all right, up next, it's the question of the week.
Hey, yo, Game Marks, you know who I am? And I'm here to tell you about our pro wrestling tees and TeePublic stores. Now let me tell you something, Game Marks. Not only do we have the most radical shirts over at Pro Wrestling Tees, we also have a TeePublic store with even more designs, dude. So head on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod and TeePublic.com/user/GameMarksPod, because when you're GMP for life.
All right, so the question of the week is a weekly segment where you ask us a question on any form of social media at GameMarksPod, and if we pick your question, you get a GMP prize pack. Last week, the question was, if you could redesign a wrestling video game cover, who and what would you change? And we both agreed that a Here Comes the Pain sequel called SmackDown, You Can't See Me was the way to go.
Yeah, and I even designed it. I put it out there.
It looked really good, so much to the point that I was just like, yeah, okay, well, not topping that one. There was not a lot more that could be perfected on that design, so I was like, I'm just going to do the same thing that John just did, except I may use a different picture of Cena
Yes,
and that's really
I tried to go with the time zone of when SmackDown vs. Raw came out.
Oh, no, it was perfect. 10 out of 10. I'd buy the shit out of that game.
We did have one other redesign of a cover, and that was Will McDonough. Will is ballin' said it didn't have a cover in the traditional sense because it was digital only, but here's my take on a new cover for 5-Star Wrestling. And he just threw a big dumpster emoji over the picture of the wrestlers. So
yeah. I mean, we haven't crossed that bridge yet, but it's coming.
It's coming, unfortunately.
It's coming.
All right, so this week's question comes from Wrestling Fig DB, the Wrestling Figure Database, and they said you've crash landed on a desert island, and all that survived is you, a game system, and a wrestling game. Which system and which game?
Ooh, this is tough.
Now, do you want a story mode? Do you want matches?
That's what I'm thinking. Like, okay, do I go PlayStation 3 and WWE 13?
Ooh. There's a lot to do in there.
You got a showcase mode. I'm pretty sure there's a story mode. You've got a universe. You got create a wrestler. The roster's pretty good.
Damn, yeah, you pretty much have everything there. The only other obvious one I could say is No Mercy because the story mode has so many branching storylines, but that's not my pick.
Maybe it's because of GMP64, but I think it has actually knocked down No Mercy on my list of favorite games.
Oh man, See, I would go. We're going back to gaming news here. I'm going, I think, with a GameCube with WrestleMania 19.
Oh yeah, because that story mode was good.
It's good and it's different. It's not like a wrestling story mode. You're throwing construction workers off a building. You could play that repeatedly so many times, different difficulties, create a wrestler, real wrestler, whatever.
Oh, that's a good one too. All right, so you're saying WrestleMania 19?
Yes.
And I'm going to say WWE 13.
Two very different, but both very reasonable for this question.
I think that's good, and I'm actually very surprised that we didn't go with something on the N64.
Good, yeah, I'm glad. All right, so thank you,
Wrestling Figure Database. Message us on social media to claim your prize, and thank you for that awesome question. But John, this is a one and done here for this episode. This is we play this game, we cover this console, and then that's it. Goes into the archives, and we never come back to this series or this game.
Rightfully so. I'm tiptoeing, I'm on the diving board, and I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Deep dive. Are you sick of drinking the same old boring coffee with the same old boring flavors? Well, Marks, it's time for you to check out Bones Coffee Company. Bones Coffee isn't just a drink that wakes you up in the morning. It's a full flavor experience. Small batch roasts that are made to order so that every order is guaranteed to be fresh. Unbelievable, all-natural flavors in every single bag. Some of our favorites are blueberry, paradise pie, and chocolate raspberry. But if you're not into the flavored coffees, they've got their single origin series featuring coffee beans from the greatest coffee-growing regions in the world. Visit GameMarksPod.com/coffee to place your order and try the world's freshest small batch coffee. Oh, man. All right, here we go.
You ready? You good?
WWE Aftershock. Released August 15th, 2005 for the Nokia N-GAGE, developed by Exient Entertainment and published somehow by THQ and published somehow
Triple H
by THQ. I mean, I feel like first we got to talk about this system because you heard it just a couple of seconds ago. This is a Nokia gaming console.
Same year of SmackDown vs. Raw, the first one, 2005. This is what you're stuck with if for some reason you went with an N-GAGE.
I mean, so if you got sick of playing Snake or Brick Break on your BlackBerry or your regular just Nokia phone, you could pick up the N-GAGE because it was both. It was a smartphone, and I use that term very loosely, and it's a handheld gaming system. It was weird. So the console itself comes out October 7th in 2003, and the game that we're covering today, WWE Aftershock, is announced on December 1st and then is released 2 years later in 2005.
Okay, so here's the thing. In 2005, WWE put out so much. They put out Raw, the mobile game, SmackDown, the mobile game. In case you didn't know, those are two different mobile games with two different rosters. For some reason, two different games. Kind of like what you always suggest they should do with NXT.
Yes.
Aftershock for the N-GAGE, WrestleMania 21 for the Xbox. Another, not a good year until we get here. SmackDown versus Raw 2006. I'm sorry, I misspoke before. So 2006 comes out in 2005. And Day of Reckoning 2 comes out in 2005. Now also, Fire Pro Wrestling Returns, another very renowned game for that time period, comes out in 2005. And for some reason, Nokia said, there's all these, what was out in 2005? PSP was announced in 2003. It came out in 2005. You're getting better graphics on that than the N-GAGE. You have the DS out in 2004. Why are you picking up this? How do you describe it? It's trying to be the Sidekick. Remember the Sidekick phone? Was that also Nokia? No, that was T-Mobile Sidekick. It's trying to be the Sidekick. Do you know what bothers me the most about this thing?
The screen?
The screen is vertical, not horizontal.
It's so weird.
How do you plan on fitting any game on a vertical screen if it's not Snake or whatever? I don't know, but you get this world of good consoles, and then the N-GAGE comes up. The graphics on the N-GAGE were not good. How do you even put out something that looks like this?
The thing about this, to me, and I guess we'll have to take it with a grain of salt, is that
no,
it's supposed to be a cell phone too. So it has to be a certain shape, but like, you want to talk about, like, okay, so if you don't know what this console looks like, Google it. It
Cyberco.
Screams early 2000s. It like the font for the numpad, the icons, everything about this thing just screams 2000s.
It came out hot. It came out hot. I mean, WWE,
I wanted this.
So did I,
when
just
it first
for this
came
game,
out.
just for WWE. But they had Sega Rally Championship, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Jungle Storm. It probably was a jumble. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. It had good games on here, but it just wasn't a good console at all.
I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, they changed the screen and it's a horizontal screen and it looks a little bit more like it should. Honestly,
slide up.
Maybe
flip
that's
up,
not
like
even
the Sidekick. You get that vertical
maybe it's
screen.
not even that. What if it's just a little bit wider? And instead of it being a rectangle, it's a square, like the original Game Boy, or just like Game Boy.
Well,
instead of it being a rectangle up and down, it's more of a square, so you get a little bit more of a better picture.
I could see that. I can't see them changing the shape of it because it is supposed to be a phone that fits in your pocket.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you make that screen area a little bigger.
Yeah. Maybe they tested some pockets and saw how deep they could
I
go.
don't know. I just the screen is like the glaring issue. We both talked about it. I mean, there's a lot to unpack with this thing. It's just,
hey, it did have
very
Bluetooth.
strange.
It had Bluetooth for 2-player capability. I'll give it that, but so did some Game Boy Advances. So
now here's a little early. Did you know here that there is a redesign of the N-GAGE?
Wait, like an N-GAGE too?
It is the N-GAGE QD. It was unveiled in April of 2004, and it was released in May of 2004.
Oh, so it's just like circular, a little more circular. It looks like a Frisbee kind of.
It almost is like, okay, we're going to take this and we're going to like sleek it up a little bit and make it look a little bit more modern and less like a cell phone. Like, this looks more like a console and less like a cell phone to me.
Okay, yes, but that never happened, right? Because in 2007, they announced that the N-GAGE will be moving on to more like Nokia phones. So the N-GAGE 2.0 became more of a service rather than a thing. So you're getting some of the classic games, you're getting some of the, I guess, lesser known games, but they're going to be on your regular Nokia phone under the N-GAGE title.
Yeah, okay.
Short-lived. Very short-lived.
Yeah, not at all the staying power that Nokia probably had hoped, but no. I mean, listen, we're talking about it here today, and I have to imagine that someone liked this console enough and had such a strong feeling about this console that an emulator was made. So some people like this console.
All right, but let's read the tagline for the game we're talking about, WWE Aftershock. Get ready for some hardcore wrestling action as WWE Aftershock invades the N-GAGE platform, featuring today's top WWE superstars and their arsenal of signature moves. WWE Aftershock pushes the unparalleled capabilities of the N-GAGE to bring on the hurt in real-time 3D entertainment. Okay, here's my theory. If you have to preach and put on your game that it's 3D and that's a selling point, it's gonna be shit.
Yeah.
That's the trajectory of all these games that say 3D.
I wish that I could tell you that I disagree with you, but you're right.
In 2005, it should be 3D.
Unless it's a stylistic choice where we're purposely making a side-scrolling game. Yeah, but even Paper Mario's got some 3D perspective shift sections.
Yeah. All right. So we do actually have quite a bit of options in this game when it gets down to the gameplay. So you have main event mode, which consists of exhibition, first blood, best of 3, best of 5, I quit match, or no DQ. You have a king of the ring mode. You have a survival mode, which is your battle royals, your royal rumbles, and tag team mode. So you do have quite a bit. It's interesting to see I Quit and First Blood in here because those typically aren't two that you would get where you're not getting I guess no DQ represents the hardcore match or a cage.
Oh, see, I'm actually surprised that there is a best of 3 and a best of 5 because that's usually something that you see in a Fire Pro game, not necessarily a WWE release. So, First Blood, I Quit, no DQ, that makes sense to me because those are matches that have actually happened fairly frequently in both the WWE show and in the games. You don't really see a lot of features where they're boasting a best of 3 or best of 5. That's usually a Japanese style.
For a small game, I guess it's a way they could add 2 more modes into there very easily.
I was gonna say it's a marketing thing, I guess.
All right, but what do you say we go through this short little roster?
Do you want to flip a coin for who does this one? Who? Oh my god!
All right, but we're gonna hear a word from our sponsors first. All right, you know what, George? You read the last 2 weeks, I think, so I could take this one. My throat's a little better now.
All right. I hope your shoulders are ready for this mammoth of a roster.
All right. We have Booker T, Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, Edge, John Cena, Rey Mysterio, Ric Flair, Triple H, and The Undertaker. But there's more. You have an unlockable roster. You win the Royal Rumble, and you get the Big Show. You win the Battle Royal, you get Kane. But wait, there's more. There are actually 4 arenas in here. No, you're not getting WrestleMania. You're not getting the Royal Rumble. You are getting even better. You are getting Raw, SmackDown, Heat, and Velocity.
Yeah.
So, another way they could get more in the game. They took the 2 arenas they already had, reskinned them with some new logos, new colors, and they added Heat and Velocity.
Oh,
good for
listen.
them.
Love when games show Heat and Velocity some love.
I feel like we were on the way of those not even being a thing back then, but then I think back to Day of Reckoning 2, and they're pretty prominent in those storylines too. So I guess
I was gonna say we've got Heat and Velocity for a long time, and then what? Main Event takes the spot of Heat and Velocity.
Main Event or Superstars. The last episode of Velocity aired June 11th, 2006, so it was very much on its way out.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think of like the Hurricane when I think of Velocity. Like those kind of superstars. Weird. I don't know. Let's point this out.
That's an interesting question. When you hear Heat and Velocity, who do you think of?
When I hear Heat, I think of like Hardcore Holly. You know, like the mid-carders that are there.
Yeah. Like the work rate guys.
The work rate guys. Like GMP Game Over. But one thing we have to point out with this roster, the full entrance theme song for everyone is in this game. We didn't think it was going to be that way, but then all of a sudden we heard Viva la Raza, and Eddie came out in a lowrider. They tried so hard. Thank you, THQ. You tried so hard to make this what it could be.
Let's talk about let's change the order of what we're going through things here. So like normally we start talking about the artwork, we go through like the cover and stuff. Since you brought up the lowrider and how they look, let's talk about the actual in-game graphics, because I feel like we could spend more time talking about this than the front and back cover, because
I'll say this.
You got a nice looking title screen.
Something's there with the stages and the graphics and the players, but it's just not there. But something is there. Like the SmackDown Fist stage. It looks like it, but it doesn't.
I mean, listen, Triple H's entrance has the mist.
On the wrong side of the ring.
But it's got the mist.
And there's also...
Beggars can't be choosers. You get the right ring position and the perfect animation, but no mist, or the wrong everything else, but the mist.
There's also pyro, which just look like little... It looks like the little fire bursts when Mario completes a stage.
Oh, it looks like lens flare to me.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh, look at these lens flares from the lights on the top of the Titantron. And then you're like, wait, lens flare doesn't move like that.
Yeah, so I could see someone getting this game, being excited. You're getting a WWE handheld game. Or, oh, okay, wait. Here's a debate, George.
Oh, no, don't. I knew this was going to come up.
And I want to know, is this a mobile game or is this a handheld game? Because
I mean, technically it's both.
This is the first time.
But this was marketed as
a phone.
Yeah, but the games were cartridges.
So you get excited for this WWE game. You put the cartridge in, which is just an SD card, into the N-GAGE.
It is a SD. Okay.
Yeah, it's an SD card. Pretty much same size and everything.
There's your debate. There's the deciding factor.
It's mobile.
It's a handheld. It's not a mobile game.
Okay.
Because it has a cartridge.
Okay. I agree with that. You get the loading screen. You get a nice picture of Eddie or Edge. It looks nice. The music is good. It looks nice and clean. The menu's clean. Actually, your difficulty in this game is bruising, crunching, and backbreaking. I had to point that out because it's kind of like the birth of cement, but it's a little different. You start the game, say you pick Eddie, which most people seem to do. The lowrider comes out. You hear the music. You're like, okay, this entrance isn't that bad. And then, like a Johnny Clash match, then the bell rings, and you realize it's terrible.
But like, it's so strange because this console has some really well-known, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is on the N-GAGE, Crash Bandicoot is on the N-GAGE. You've got, I think there's a Tom Clancy and a FIFA game on here too. Like, it's not like they're like, all right, here's like these one-off games where they're only, I mean, you have those. Like, there's some games on here that like weren't on other consoles, but like for the most part, there's some pretty big names on the N-GAGE. And to think about the fact that these games are on SD cards and now the Switch runs your games on SD cards, it's kind of like a weird throwback, or like, I don't know, predicting the future of what gaming was going to be all the way back in 2003, which is kind of neat, I guess. I mean, to me, it's cool, but
it looks like an M-Dicky game.
I'll say the graphics look like they're from 2003. I actually think that it's better than that.
You know what bothers me? When like you would kick or punch, your arms don't move. Obviously, a punch, like your right hand's going to punch. Nothing else moves. Like the bodies just stay, like you're kicking, your arms are at your side and you throw this little shitty kick. There's like bad body slams, suplexes. You have finishers. they're okay. Undertaker does like his signature pin and whatnot, but
we'll put like quotations around the signatures. It just some of the moves and some of the graphics in this game are like, oh look, it's a weird pixel polygon blob doing something to another weird pixel polygon blob. It's, I mean, do you even want to talk about the crowd, John?
No, because the crowd was
World Tour or this
World Tour, 100%. This is just this is like they're all in a box, like a glass case stuffed to the gills. Like it's flat.
It's the man in the box.
It's flat.
All right. Listen, I don't want to beat this game up too much.
Here it comes.
Even though we did, but let's go to the actual packaging, because the packaging for this game is actually kind of badass.
I like it.
I'm a big fan of the front cover of this. You've got this red, almost looks like the Velocity background,
Hulk
but
Hogan's
it's
tights.
red instead of green. What'd you say?
It's like Hulk Hogan's red and yellow tie-dye tights a little bit.
Yes, it does. Like that tie-dye, like sunburst kind of design. I mean, the WWE Scratch logo, this like explosion happening and Aftershock blowing out of it. Like it's cool looking. And then you have Undertaker, Edge, Eddie Guerrero.
Nope. That's all that's on the cover. Nope.
You know,
Nope.
I'm looking at this N-GAGE logo, and it kind of, if you read it quick, kind of looks like N.
Yeah, that does look like an F.
Because it looks like a backwards F.
Yeah, it's not terrible. Well, the reason we're doing this is because Nick Gage and Matt Cardona are wrestling this weekend, and it's an N-GAGE game for Nick.
It's
Nick Gage.
It's the Nick Gage
Plus,
game.
He was on AEW. Yeah.
So this game actually is multiplayer. So it's up to 2 players via Bluetooth, which is, again, kind of like a new thing. It's not
more than most
groundbreaking,
GameCube games, we'll say.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is like, I mean, this is literally then the bell rang of all systems. Like, it has so many cool features, and then you're like, oh, and then I put a game in. It's a cell phone. Cool. It's got Bluetooth. Cool. It's got SD cards for the game. Cool. And then you play the game and you're like, what happened here?
Yeah, why?
What happened?
Why does the Undertaker look like a soccer mom?
The back cover, though, says, bring the pain. Grapple with 12 WWE superstars, including The Undertaker, Edge, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Benoit.
Nope. It doesn't say anything else after that.
And then you got a little screenshot of your Choose Wrestler screen with Edge, and then the beautiful screenshot that you love to see of a square. I'm sorry, this time I guess it's a rectangle of wrestlers doing moves in the ring. I believe it's Triple H doing something to the person that I'm not allowed to mention. And
he who shall not be named.
You have, let's see. Here, the crowd roars. Triple H applies the pedigree. I didn't know that the pedigree was something that could be applied. I thought it was just something that you hit.
It's a submission now. He just holds the arms.
Enrage on N-GAGE game deck. Beat down friends with Bluetooth wireless gameplay. 3D graphics with exciting play modes, including First Blood, King of the Ring, and tag matches. Battle your way to the top of the N-GAGE Arena leaderboards. Again, there's a fucking leaderboards. This is so cool. And then you put the game in and you're like, what the hell?
All right, but since we kind of spoiled one already, George, did you know? Did you know WWE Aftershock for the N-GAGE featured a leaderboard ranking system for survival mode?
Did you know the N-GAGE was discontinued in February 2006, with Nokia moving its gaming capabilities onto the selected Series 60 smartphones?
Did you know WWE Aftershock starts around $29 on eBay and goes up to $90 sealed? The N-GAGE itself goes for around $60 to $125 used, and okay, $2,219 factory sealed.
There's your WTF figure of the week right there, guys.
That's insane.
Unbelievable.
Wow. But all right, this game took a lot out of you, George. I could see it. I could see it in your face.
I'm expecting at least for a console that factory sealed on eBay is going for over $2,000. I'm expecting to sit here for 15 minutes with reviews. Take me through.
All right, I got a few. GameSpy gives this game a 3 out of 5. N-GAGE Gaming, ready for this one? 7.5 out of 10. Now, I guess if you're comparing it to other N-GAGE games, then yes. IGN gives it
to Snake?
Yeah, right. IGN gives it a 5 out of 10. Now, Levi Buchanan rated this for the IGN and says, WWE Aftershock is a missed opportunity. These are the kind of games that make people turn their noses up at the N-GAGE. And the presence of two powerful new handhelds on the market certainly isn't helping things either. The absolutely unattractive graphics are really off-putting because I know, as well as any other N-GAGE fan, the machine can do much better. If you are a wrestling fan, I still advise you to steer clear. Maybe look at King of Fighters instead. It's not the same kind of fighting, but it's at least fun and decent to look at. Woof. Kick them while they're down.
I mean...
Yeah. Now, GameSpot gives this a 5.3 out of 10, so same, on brand. This was rated by Avery Score. Funny, his name is Score and he rates games. The good, the only N-GAGE wrestling game, cool ring entrance sequences, great authentic music. The bad, no ringside commentary. I mean, come on. Wooden animation, terrible player models, exploitable AI, and no 4-man Bluetooth. All reasonable. The commentary one's a little like you're not going to get that on a handheld or a mobile game.
Okay. Here's the thing. You get a console. That's a phone. And a handheld gaming system. And it's got Bluetooth. And it's got SD cards. And it's got live leaderboards. I would say this. I am willing to forgive some things and forego some features for others. I will take real entrance music so that I have a better immersion in the game over commentary.
Right.
Now, animation, player models, textures and stuff like that, there are a lot of things that I would change in this game. But again, hardware limitations, the fact that this is essentially a glorified phone game,
Okay, but this game was announced October 2003. It came out when? August 2005. So that's over 2 years almost. Or that's around 2 years that they had to develop, and get this game right. You don't think in those 2 years they knew the capabilities of the N-GAGE with other games that came out? Judging by these reviews, it seems like that was the biggest complaint from people. They knew what the N-GAGE could handle, and they just never fulfilled it.
Maybe the N-GAGE was on its way out by this time because it didn't have a super long life. We just talked about before how there was a sequel that came out 2006, so this game releases in 2005, and then already they're like, all right, N-GAGE QD's coming out now.
But this game had to be developed before that. They're not going to tell them to stop. I mean, it could be a game that saves them.
Go talk to 2K20, because that was a game that was in development, and then they still released it, and it was bad.
Oh, boy. All right, but those are the ratings from the professionals, but now it's time for the most important ratings, because right now...
The other professionals.
I'm spitting water in the wrong direction. It's time to rate the games.
The game!
All right, George. I'm hitting you first. WWE Aftershock. Will you play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor?
You're fired!
Countdown, John. This is a countdown.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Play
Future
it forever.
endeavor.
Just kidding.
Yeah,
Future endeavor.
Yeah.
You're fired!
Yeah.
So,
No. This misses the mark. I will 100% be using the emulator to go and try other N-GAGE games, but
God bless you. More power to you.
My expectations are low. Hey, it's a new console, man. It's a console that I didn't have as a kid, and I don't feel like spending $2,000 for a factory sealed one. So if I can emulate it on a phone or on a Android emulator, and then
I deleted that real quick as soon as we were done. Deleted that.
I'll give it a shot.
I guess I'll need it again for future endeavor in the future. But what do you say we now go on to talk about our weekly tournament, Clash at the Feast? All right, so for this week's game was a little unique because it's a Mega Mark episode. Soups Jamie Patterson told us, hey, listen, I know you guys probably won't be able to play this game together because it's Bluetooth. You guys are just going to play rock, paper, scissors. So for that, go to youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast. I swear we're going to try to make it as entertaining as possible. Last week, Fire Pro Queen Special we played in replace of that title I'm not going to say anymore.
Oh.
I don't know exactly who we were because we didn't have the translation on. There was no translation. I know I picked Cutie Suzuki for at least one of those matches.
And I was Asia Kong,
I think,
for one.
I think twice, maybe, because we did randoms for the third game.
Yeah.
I took the first game. George took the second game. And for your winner, George took the third game. George Feis.
Oh, play my music.
All right, so you're up 2-0 for this month. I'll take it. Listen, I could come back. But why don't you tell us what we are playing next week on the podcast as I start my climb back into positive here.
All right, so listen to this, guys. The last week of July in 2020, your boys, George Feis, Johnny Clash, played a game that was called All-Star Pro Wrestling. Well, Soups picked a game for us this week, so couldn't be a year to the day. So, next week, a year and a week later, we will be playing the sequel, All-Star Pro Wrestling 2.
Okay, I remember liking that game. I remember the controls were a little weird, but I also remember researching that it got a little better in the second one, so I'm looking forward to playing this one.
Yeah, I'm very excited to play this game. This is the one, I believe, in that episode that we kept talking about. You know, this game, you know, everyone, all the research that you did, everything that we saw about the game was just like, okay, first game's okay. Second game is really, really find their stride. So if you're going to play one of the two, play the second one. So I'm ready for it, and I cannot wait for next week because it feels like it's been forever since we've picked our own game.
Yeah, really, it does. I mean, I do appreciate the Mega Marks because it helps us make decisions. Hey, I wish we had a Mega Mark for every game so they could pick them all.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Hey,
I would love that. And you can do that if you become the Mega Mark in our Patreon tier. You can pick a game. You can decide the fate of our characters in GMP64. And, you know, there's a whole lot of other perks, and that is ever evolving, and we're constantly going to be adding stuff in there. So if you're interested, patreon.com/GameMarksPod. But John, I am ready to disengage from this episode. See what I did there?
I am making shoveling. We buried this game enough.
We buried it, yeah.
I'm now putting the dirt back on it. We're putting it in the graveyard. All right, see ya. Take us home.
I get no reaction from the disengage. I thought that was pretty
in my
clever.
head. I was like, did he know he did that? Because he didn't like smile or anything.
All right, that's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks Podcast. Please check out our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop and join us on Patreon at Patreon.com/GameMarksPod. It is the best way besides listening to support the podcast, and be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. Jamie Patterson, Soups, thank you very much for a fun game and a fun episode. And John, time for you to do that thing.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.